A whisper from the desert, in a desolate, sun-scorched wasteland near the Dead Sea, where the air seems to hum with the weight of forgotten ages. A Bedouin shepherd named Mohammed Edib cast a stone into a cave in 1947 and shattered a silence that had endured for centuries. The echo of breaking clay jars reverberated through the cliffs, and with it, the world was thrust into a mystery that has haunted historians, theologians, and conspiracy theorists ever since. Inside those jars lay the Dead Sea Scrolls, over 15,000 fragments from 981 manuscripts, fragile pages etched with cryptic words from a time when Judaism stood on the cusp of transformation. Dating from the 3rd century BCE to the 1st century CE, these texts, biblical, apocryphal, and sectarian, offer a tantalizing glimpse into a world of sacred rites, apocalyptic dreams, and the birth of early Christianity. But their discovery is only the beginning. Beneath the surface of scholarly study runs a darker current. Whispers of hidden truths, suppressed revelations, and shadowy forces guarding secrets too potent to unveil. The scrolls, it seems, are not mere relics. They're the epicenter conspiracies stretching from ancient caves to modern corridors of power. What follows is a descent into these theories, a journey through the enigmatic and the forbidden, where history intertwines with the mesmerizing unknown. The Scrolls, a cipher for suspicion. The Dead Sea Scrolls are no ordinary archaeological find. Unearthed between 1947 and 1956 in 11 caves near the ruins of Qumran, a remote settlement on the northwest shore of the Dead Sea. They include the oldest known copies of the Hebrew Bible, alongside enigmatic works like the Community Rule, the War Scroll, and the perplexing Copper Scroll. Written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, these texts are widely believed by scholars to be the work of the Essenes, a reclusive Jewish sect described by ancient writers like Josephus and Philo as ascetics living communally, rejecting material wealth, and awaiting a messianic era. Yet, the scrolls' origins, their delayed publication, and their elusive contents have bred suspicion. Why were they hidden in such remote caves? Why did it take nearly 4 decades for some texts to see the light of day? And what might they reveal or conceal about the foundations of faith and power? These questions have spawned a web of conspiracy theories, each more provocative than the last, suggesting that the scrolls are not just a historical treasure, but a Pandora's box of suppressed knowledge. The discovery itself feels like a tale of chance, or, some might argue, orchestration. A Bedouin shepherd, wandering far from familiar paths, stumbled upon jars in a cave so isolated it had lain undisturbed for millennia. The scrolls within, preserved by the desert's arid air, are fragments of a lost world. Their words a bridge to an era when the lines between Judaism and early Christianity were still blurred. Yet, from the moment of their unearthing, the scrolls were cloaked in secrecy. Their initial study was confined to a small cadre of elite scholars, and for decades, access was tightly controlled. This secrecy, combined with the scrolls' potential to challenge or affirm religious narratives, has made them fertile ground for speculation. Are they merely ancient texts, or do they hold the key to unraveling centuries of doctrine and dogma? The answer, like the scrolls themselves, remains fragmented. Conspiracy Theory 1, the Vatican Silent Suppression. The most pervasive and chilling conspiracy theory casts a long shadow over the Vatican, accusing the Catholic Church of orchestrating a cover-up to safeguard Christian orthodoxy. The theory hinges on a tantalizing premise. What if the Dead Sea Scrolls contain truths that undermine the divinity of Jesus or the origins of Christianity? Discovered in 1947, the scrolls initially fell under the control of a small team of scholars, including Father Roland de Vaux, a Dominican priest and archaeologist who led the excavations at Qumran. De Vaux's dual role as both scholar and churchman raised eyebrows. Was he merely an archaeologist, or a gatekeeper ensuring that any revelations threatening the church were buried once more? For decades, access to the scrolls was restricted, and full publication was delayed until the 1990s. This lag, some claim, was no accident. In their controversial 1991 book, The Dead Sea Scrolls Deception, authors Michael Bijan and Richard Lee argue that the Vatican feared the scrolls might reveal a Jesus more human than divine, perhaps a radical teacher rather than the Son of God, or expose early Christianity as a sect rooted in Jewish descent. The narrative is gripping. Imagine a clandestine meeting in the hallowed halls of the Vatican. Orders whispered to suppress texts that could unravel centuries of doctrine. The scrolls' temporal overlap with Jesus' era, circa 4 BCE, 33 CE, adds fuel to the fire. Could they mention a historical Jesus, or a precursor like the scrolls' teacher of righteousness, in ways that challenge the Gospels? Father Roland de Vaux, gatekeeper or scientist. De Vaux's background deepens the intrigue. A member of the École Biblique, a French academic institution closely tied to the Vatican, de Vaux was not only an archaeologist, but a priest sworn to uphold church teachings. His leadership of the excavation team, coupled with the scroll storage at the Rockefeller Museum in Jerusalem under the team's control, raises questions of potential conflict of interest. Did de Vaux and his colleagues withhold shocking documents, delaying publication to protect the church? The theory gained traction in the 1980s and 1990s, as rumors swirled that the Vatican had pressured the team to keep certain texts under wraps. The counterargument, reality or fiction? Yet, the counterargument is clear and grounded in the mundane realities of academic work. Scholars like Lawrence Schiffman, a leading expert on the scrolls, attribute the delay to logistical chaos. Manuscripts fragmented into thousands of pieces, limited funding and scholarly rivalries, rather than a papal conspiracy. The scrolls were not a cohesive book, but a jigsaw puzzle of parchment, some fragments no larger than a fingernail. Piecing them together required meticulous effort, and the team, though small, included scholars from diverse backgrounds, not all tied to the church. When the scrolls were finally fully published, they offered no theological bombshells. Their biblical texts aligned closely with known versions, and their sectarian writings, while fascinating, posed no direct threat to Christian doctrine. Still, the conspiracy endures. What if the most contentious fragments were lost to time, or consumed by a censor's flame? The absence of evidence, as conspiracy proponents often argue, is not evidence of absence. Conspiracy theory 2, the scholarly cabal and the hidden codex. A subtler but equally unsettling theory points to a scholarly monopoly, a secret cabal of academics who controlled access to the scroll for decades and, some say, suppressed their most shocking revelations. After their discovery, the scrolls were entrusted to the international team, a select group of 8 researchers who held exclusive rights to study and publish them. Led by figures like John Strugnell and Roland de Vaux, this team faced the monumental task of piecing together fragments. But their progress was glacial. By 1991, only half the texts were published, and access to unpublished materials was tightly restricted. This secrecy bred mistrust, amplified by the team's refusal to share photographs or fragments with outsiders. Critics began to whisper, what were they hiding? The logic of conspiracy. The logic unfolds like a detective novel. The scroll's content, rules of a secretive sect, apocalyptic visions, and esoteric commentaries, hints at knowledge deemed too potent for masses. The international team, dominated by scholars with institutional ties, de Vaux with the École Biblique, Strugnell with Harvard, faced accusations of bias. Could they have sat on texts that challenged the biblical canon, exposed a rival narrative to Christianity's rise, or revealed a lost gospel? The team's composition, largely Christian scholars studying Jewish texts, added to suspicion. Were they protecting religious orthodoxy or merely guarding their academic turf? The turning point, breaking the secrecy. The turning point came in 1991, when the Huntington Library in California, which held photographs of scrolls, defied the international team and released the images to the public. This move was hailed as a blow to the alleged conspiracy, allowing scholars worldwide to study the texts. Yet, when the full archive was finally published, no hidden codex or earth-shattering revelation emerged. The scrolls, while invaluable for understanding Second Temple Judaism, contain no direct references to Jesus or early Christianity. The delay, it seems, stemmed more from academic egos and the immense difficulty of the task than from a grand plot. Still, the whisper persists, what the team destroyed or still holds. Scrolls too explosive to unveil? The fact that some fragments remain unpublished or lost only fuels this speculation, leaving room for doubt. Conspiracy Theory 3. Jesus, the Essene, and a Rewritten History. Perhaps the boldest conspiracy places Jesus himself at the heart of the Scrolls mystery. The Scrolls era aligns with his life and their themes. Purity, messianism, a coming kingdom, echo his teachings. Could Jesus have been an Essene, trained in the desert solitude of Qumran? Is mission a splinter of their radical faith? The Essenes, as described by Josephus, were a separatist sect, living communally, practicing ritual washing and awaiting a messianic age, practices eerily foreshadowing early Christianity. Some theorists go further, suggesting that the Scrolls' teacher of righteousness, a revered figure persecuted by a wicked priest, is a veiled reference to Jesus or John the Baptist. Barbara Thiering and the Pinnacle Hypothesis. In her controversial book Jesus and the Riddle of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Barbara Thiering takes this theory to its zenith, using a method she calls Pesher, an alleged secret commentary hidden within the text. Thiering claims the scrolls reveal a concealed history. Jesus was born in Qumran, became an Essene priest, and survived the crucifixion via snake venom, a story later mythologized into the Gospels. According to Thiering, the scroll's cryptic language is an intentional veil, protecting the truth from outsiders. The hypothesis ignites the imagination. Picture Jesus as a desert mystic, his teachings not divine revelation, but an evolution of Essene doctrine. The scroll silence on Jesus could be deliberate, a scrubbed record to safeguard a nascent faith, scholarly rebuttal. Yet, mainstream scholars dismiss this as fantasy. The scrolls predate or overlap with Jesus' life, but lack personal references. The teacher of righteousness is a generic archetype, not a messiah. Carbon dating places many scrolls before Jesus' birth, and their content reflects sectarian divisions within Judaism, not proto-Christianity. N.T. Wright, a prominent New Testament scholar, has stated that no serious scholar credits Thiering's theories. Still, the idea persists, fueled by the scroll's enigmatic nature and humanity's yearning to find connections where they may not exist. What if the Essenes' true legacy was erased, leaving us a sanitized version of Jesus' story? The theory thrives on the unknown, whispering that the scrolls hold the key to a forgotten faith. Conspiracy Theory 4. The Copper Scroll's Lost Treasure. The Copper Scroll, 3Q15, etched on metal and unearthed in 1952, offers a different enigma. A list of 64 locations concealing vast hoards of gold and silver. Unlike the scroll's spiritual text, it's a treasure map, its Hebrew dialect and cryptic clues suggesting a cache from the Second Temple or Qumran itself. Its physical form, rolled copper sheets designed to endure, hints at its significance. Yet, despite centuries of searches, no treasure has been found. Enter the conspiracy. What if the treasure was discovered and concealed? Theorists speculate that archaeologists, the Israeli government, or a secret order, perhaps Essene descendants, unearthed the riches and buried the truth, historical context, and clues. The plot thickens with historical context. The scrolls were discovered just before Israel's founding in 1948, a time of fervent national and religious zeal. A treasure from the Second Temple could symbolize divine favor or fund the fledgling state's ambitions. The copper scroll specificity, detailed measurements, landmarks like the tomb of Zadok or the water conduit, teases a real hoard, while its elusiveness suggests sabotage. Some argue the locations were intentionally misdescribed or the treasure relocated in antiquity. Others whisper a modern finds hushed up to avoid diplomatic strife or keep the riches in secret hands. Lack of evidence and lingering allure. No credible evidence supports such a discovery. Excavations at sites like Hyrcania and Mount Gerizim have yielded only dust, but absence is a theory's lifeblood. Could the treasure lie in a hidden vault, its guardian silent? The copper scroll dangles a glittering lure, daring us to believe in a cover-up as ancient as the caves themselves. Its very existence, why etch a treasure map on indestructible metal, if not to preserve it for a distant future? Invite speculation that its secret awaits eyes yet to come. Conspiracy Theory 5, a political fabrication. A darker threat emerges from the geopolitical shadows of the Middle East. Some Arab nationalists and Islamist voices, like Dr. Isa bin Daifal Haddad, frame the scrolls as a Zionist fabrication, a planted relic to bolster Jewish historical claims to the land amid Israel's 1948 creation. The timing is uncanny. The scrolls surfaced in 1947, mere months before Israel declared independence. Could their discovery have been staged, their content tailored to reinforce a narrative of ancient Jewish presence in the region? This theory, though a minority view, questions the scrolls' authenticity, casting them as tools of a biblical Orientalist Zionist conspiracy to displace Palestinian narratives. Scientific rebuttal. The counter-argument is robust and scientifically grounded. Carbon dating places the scrolls between 250 BCE and 68 CE, and paleographic analysis confirms their antiquity. Bedouin shepherds, not Zionist agents, found them, and international scholars, many with no stake in Middle Eastern politics, verified their provenance. Yet, the theory persists, fed by ongoing custody disputes. Jordan and the Palestinian Authority challenge Israel's control over the scrolls, now housed at the Israel Museum. The scroll's symbolic weight. Ancient Jewish texts found on contested land makes them a flashpoint for political narratives. What if their timing was exploited, their mystery wielded as a weapon in a millennia-spanning game? Modern echoes, forgeries, disputes, and shadows. The intrigue surrounding the Dead Sea Scrolls doesn't end with their ancient origins. It extends into the present, where new layers of conspiracy have emerged. In 2020, the Museum of the Bible in Washington, D.C., revealed that 16 fragments in its collection, previously thought to be authentic Dead Sea Scrolls, were sophisticated forgeries. This revelation sent shockwaves through the academic and religious communities, raising troubling questions. How many other scrolls in private collections or museums are fake? And more disturbingly, were these forgeries planted to muddy the waters of historical study or to profit from the scroll's mystique? The forgery scandal and its implications. The forgery scandal underscores the scroll's enduring allure and their vulnerability to manipulation. The market for biblical artifacts is lucrative, and the scroll's fragmented nature makes them ripe for exploitation. Some theorists speculate that the proliferation of fakes is part of a broader effort to discredit the genuine scrolls or distract from their true significance. Others see the forgeries as a modern echo of ancient conspiracies, a continuation of the battle to control the narrative around these enigmatic texts. Ownership disputes. Moreover, the ownership of the scrolls remains a point of contention. Israel, which has held most of the scrolls since their discovery, faces challenges from Jordan and the Palestinian Authority, both claiming rights to the artifacts on territorial and historical grounds. This ongoing dispute adds a contemporary layer to the scrolls' mystery. Are they being used as pawns in a geopolitical struggle, their secrets leveraged for modern ends? The scrolls, it seems, remain as entangled in shadowy power plays today as they were in antiquity. Evidence and the abyss. Each conspiracy theory surrounding the Dead Sea Scrolls rests on a kernel of possibility, twisted by the gaps in our knowledge. The Vatican suppression theory exploits the publication delay, though logistics and academic stagnation explain it more plausibly. The scholarly cabal hinges on the international team's restricted access, yet yields no smoking gun. The Jesus is Seen link tantalizes with temporal overlap, but lacks concrete proof. The Copper Scrolls treasure teases with detailed descriptions, yet remains a phantom. The political fabrication rides historical coincidence, but is debunked by rigorous science. In each case, the evidence leans toward the mundane. The scrolls are ancient Jewish texts hidden amid war, studied slowly by fallible humans. No grand plot emerges, only fragments of a lost age. But the absence of proof is a conspiracy's lifeblood. History is a sieve, letting secrets slip through its cracks. What if the Vatican did destroy a scroll naming Jesus as a mortal man? What if the international team concealed a gospel rewriting Christianity? What if the Copper Scrolls treasure glimmers in a secret chamber, where the scrolls themselves were forged by hands we'll never trace? The Dead Sea Scrolls are a cipher, their silence a canvas for our deepest fears and fascinations. They beckon us to peer into the abyss of the unknown, where the line between history and myth blurs, a tapestry of shadows. The Dead Sea Scrolls defy closure, their conspiracies a dance of shadow and suggestion. The Vatican looms as a silent censor. Scholars guard forbidden truth. Jesus walks Qumran sands. Treasure glints in unseen caves, and politics weaves a fabricated past. Each theory, though unproven, stirs a pot of curiosity, asking, what don't we know? The desert holds its breath, the caves their secrets. Are the scrolls a relic of faith or a riddle of deception? As we gaze into their abyss, one truth emerges. The mystery is the message, and conspiracies, however wild, keep us searching, wondering, and whispering in the dark.